Call this Saline City Council work meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Members present this evening are myself, Mayor Marl, Council members Dillon, Gearbaugh, McClellan, Mitchell, CEO, and Mayor Pro Tem Tahar. From City staff, we have City Manager Campbell, Clerk Royal, and DPW Director Fordyce. The rest of you who are in the audience this evening, if you'd please sign in the back to my left, we would appreciate that. At this time, the Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments. As submitted, Mr. Gearbaugh. Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Seo. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. I do need to note one correction, which is the public comment period will be now before our discussion item as opposed to after. So under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. And if you do have citizen comments, if you please come forward to the podium, we would appreciate that. Are there any citizen comments this evening? No, then we'll proceed to our one discussion item of the night, which is the 2018 community event applications. The city clerk and DPW director are going to take the lead on this. In your packet that was delivered to your house on Thursday or sent to you electronically, there was a memo dated October the 19th from the clerk's office, which is very succinct. We've been doing this process how many years now? 3 years. So I think it works a lot better. So unless council members have questions for me, I will turn it over to the city clerk. And please be sure to speak.
The amounts are pretty similar to what we've had in the past 2 years. And these are just estimates as the events happen. Sometimes they're higher or sometimes they're lower, but they seem to even out through the year. I know that the fair parade did not happen this year because of weather, so our estimate was lower than what we were expecting. But other than that, it's the same events every year. I did add an additional miscellaneous event because that had been suggested in previous years. I did not put an amount for it because I don't really know what that amount would be, but it is available, and we do have a little extra left over for the
Mr. Fordyce, anything you'd like to add?
Nothing particular. Our community events program went pretty smoothly over the past year, and it seems to be a good use of our crew's time to help these events for the community.
Very good. If the city clerk or DPW director have no further comments, I'm assuming you don't have any comments at this time. Is that correct? All right. Let's usually start to my right, so let me start to my left. Councilwoman Mitchell, can I start with you? Do you have any questions for staff regarding the community events for 2018?
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I just, being new, this is the first time I've looked at something like this, and I was looking at your memo, the second paragraph, it says the waiver of fees for the police department includes overtime only. Is that because, why is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, it does not include overtime.
Oh, okay.
Overtime it's regular time. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Good catch.
Yes.
Well, no, I couldn't, that makes everything so much more clear
Right.
now. Okay, yeah, I don't have any questions, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Seo, any questions?
The second page, the colored page, that's the actual for 2017, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
How come then you've only budgeted for the Memorial Day Parade $2,600 when last year it cost almost $4,000?
Because the year before we went to the park because we had US 12.
Oh, okay.
So, and they had to rent the park pavilion, and there was a whole bunch of other things that happened that year, so it was a much bigger event than it normally is.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, just one thing on the Celtic Festival. Are they continuing to do the Mastodon Mayhem or not?
They were going to do it this year, but there weren't enough registrations, but I think they're looking to continue that, yes.
Okay, so that budget will be in it.
Oh, sure.
As the council representative on the Celtic Festival Executive Committee. While that has been an enjoyable component of the Celtic Festival in the past, it would be our goal, again I would emphasize goal, to find another another entity or organization to run and administer that, but make it a component or an additional amenity at the Celtic Festival. So again, as the clerk indicated, we were not able to pull it off this year because of some last-minute snafus, but we're hoping that that is, again, a component of the 2018 Celtic Festival. But as things evolve, I'll be sure to keep you in the loop.
Yeah, thanks. I was just wondering how that was going to be in terms of additional time. This is actually a question for Jeff. Do you feel that the number of hours are still the same, or have you had to put in more hours, or?
Over the past probably 6 years, it's generally been a downward trend in the number of hours that DPW has to put in. There were used to be a lot more fencing when they went to the kind of making the whole park the controlled alcohol zone versus distinct beer gardens within it. That actually reduced the amount of fencing we needed quite a bit. And they about, I think it's probably going back 4 years, they changed the layout.
Right.
And that also decreased our hours. I think last year we might have had a slight uptick, but nothing significant.
And that's true with all the other events, so we haven't had any additional hours or stuff that had to be added as a result?
No, I mean, there's always, not always, but there's often some last minute things, you know, when we're asking these folks to submit these applications, you know, a year, sometimes this ends up being more than a year in advance. Things change as the planning progresses, you know, so there might be a slight change in the services they need from us, but it's usually nothing significant.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Beerbauer. Councilwoman Dillon.
I guess, I know this is just an assumption, correct, based on what we've had for 2017.
Right.
So when is the deadline for people to file?
Well, there is no deadline, but we try to get them all in now so that they can be approved, so we have a budget to work within. But if something new were to come available, it would be brought to council for approval.
Okay, because there's a couple of things on here, yes, that I have sort of heard are going to change, not exist
Right.
in 2018. So we're setting aside money for things that may not be there.
Correct.
Okay,
Which I guess, Councilwoman Dillon, our standard practice would be we would prefer to set money aside for something that doesn't happen as opposed to not having the money and that it does.
right, but I would hate to not do something else because the money was allocated to something that was not going to come to fruition.
No, I get that, but of course, we could always do a
So-
budget amendment and.
No, I see that. Then my only other question is, under the miscellaneous event, I'd like to see us put a dollar amount in there, just so it's not just a wide open thing. And is that going to be sort of a first come, first serve, that money's up for grabs?
Well, that would have to come before council to be approved, so any amount, so anything that were, even a miscellaneous event would have to come before council to get approval on the waiver of fees. Such as, we had the cemetery tours, and their big one was, they needed porta-johns, and we billed them for the porta-johns last 2 years, and they've paid it. So it's kind of a community event, but it doesn't come here for any amount. So there are events that can happen that they don't need waivers if they're willing to pay for those porta-johns and stuff, so.
But to the Councilwoman's question, I don't recall, in years past, did we put a dollar amount?
We had 1,000 that we set aside, but we haven't used it, so I didn't know if because it's only 7, our goal was 23,000, and we're at 22.3, so I only had 700.
Right. Well, do we want, I'd like to, like I said, see a number put in as a placeholder versus just an open amount, just so that we can kind of keep track of what our costs are going to be.
I don't know, so you said we're about 700 short of our targeted budget amount?
Well, we have 700 left between, we're at 22.3, and 23,000 is what this goal has been. So
Right.
do you want me to put 700 in?
I just think then our numbers would match
Okay.
between the
Do you
chart
object to
and.
that? No, that change would be made without objection.
Okay.
Thank
Anything else,
you.
Councilwoman?
Not at this time.
No, okay. Councilwoman McClellan?
No questions for me, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Tara?
Yeah, all my questions have been covered already, thank you.
Very good. Anybody have anything else? Then the city clerk will remind us this, noting the one change that we put $700 in the, what do we label it? Miscellaneous events. When will this come back for formal action?
November 13th.
Very good, okay. Any additional questions for city staff? No?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Please,
just quickly, I'm sorry, I meant to ask Jeff.
steal his microphone if you would there, Janet.
Sorry. Jeff, what condition is the showmobile in? Does it need money in itself?
The showmobile is in need of repairs, and I am working on presenting the financial analysis of those repairs versus the revenues with, my recommendation will be to sell the showmobile.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we don't need a line item for, I know we had talked about it kind of aging. Thank you.
I think I was just joking to the clerk. I think the showmobile's older than I am.
Yeah, I think so.
I think everybody's tables.
Well, to your point, though, you're in a lot better shape than the showmobile. Is there anything else to be brought before council this evening? No, then the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn this work meeting at, let's say, 7:14. Yeah, we switched it. There was essentially a typo on the agenda. We did it. We asked at the beginning.
We did ask.
Yep, yep. And